Welcome to This Explainer. We're diving straight into a forecast that is already sending some major ripples through strategic planning rooms worldwide. We're looking at the 2026 El Nino impact on India. Now, if you're managing global supply chains, analyzing emerging markets, or leading a multinational business, 2026 is definitely not just another year on the calendar. It's actually shaping up to be a critical stress test. You see, when an El Nino hits India, it's never just a weather anomaly. It acts as this massive potential disruptor to the very foundations of the nation's economy and, by extension, global trade networks. So today, we're looking specifically at these cascading risks. We're moving way beyond basic weather models to really understand the tangible, measurable threats to agriculture and macroeconomic stability. India is a crucial engine of global growth, right? Which means any slowdown there is going to echo globally. So if you're building financial forecasts, assessing market risks, or developing operational strategies for the coming years, understanding the stakes of this specific climatic event is absolutely essential. So what exactly is the focus for 2026? Let's zero in on this specific timeline because we're looking at a crucial planning window for business leaders and economic strategists. The year 2026 represents a horizon where supply chains, domestic production, and overall economic stability could face some severe volatility. Historically, El Nino, which is characterized by that unusual warming of surface waters in the eastern tropical Pacific, has a really profound, inverse relationship with the Indian monsoon. But our focus for 2026 isn't just about bracing for a dry spell. It's about recognizing that a delayed or deficient monsoon creates this rapid domino effect across multiple sectors. Think about it. Water reservoirs deplete, which puts massive strain on industrial manufacturing that relies on heavy water usage. Then energy demands surge as cooling needs increase, right when hydroelectric power generation takes a hit. Add to that, logistical networks face unprecedented stress as the flow of agricultural raw materials just slows down. For forward-looking organizations, the focus right now is squarely on building resilience. It's about anticipating exactly how a 2026 event will alter the operational landscape across one of the world's most dynamic markets. Now, let's talk about the El Nino effect in India for 2026 on the ground. To understand the true scale of this threat, we literally have to look at the soil, the agricultural sector. Agriculture is the absolute backbone of the Indian economy. It employs nearly half of the country's massive workforce. The southwest monsoon delivers roughly 70% of India's annual rainfall. That makes it the lifeblood for millions of farmers who just don't have access to robust, modern irrigation systems. And historically, strong El Nino years heavily correlate with widespread drought and severe monsoon deficits. When the rains fail, the immediate casualty is the Kharif, or summer crop season. We're talking about critical staples and cash crops here: rice, soybeans, cotton, and pulses. A compromised 2026 monsoon means crop yields are going to plummet, which immediately threatens domestic food security and pretty much halts agricultural exports. But listen, the crisis absolutely doesn't stop at the farm gate. A failed harvest directly devastates rural incomes, eroding the purchasing power of hundreds of millions of consumers in one fell swoop. It's a shockwave that travels rapidly from those rural farming communities straight into the heart of the national economy. And that brings us to the broader picture of the 2026 El Nino impact on India. Fundamentally, this is a severe macroeconomic threat. Let's trace these economic ripple effects that business leaders are tracking so closely right now. When agricultural output drops due to these droughts, the immediate consequence is a sharp spike in food prices. And this type of inflation is particularly dangerous because food makes up a huge portion of the consumer price index in India. As food inflation surges, household budgets tighten drastically, leading to heavily reduced discretionary spending. For businesses, this means a major contraction in the rural and semi-urban markets that drive sales for things like fast-moving consumer goods, two-wheelers, tractors, and consumer durables. Plus, to combat that aggressive inflation, the central bank is often forced to maintain or even hike interest rates. And you know what that does? It inevitably raises the cost of borrowing for businesses, which stifles corporate investment and expansion plans. Ultimately, this all translates into lower corporate earnings, strained and unpredictable supply chains, and a really noticeable drag on the national GDP. It literally transforms a regional weather event into a formidable headwind for overall economic growth. So, bringing it all together, what will the El Nino effect in India 2026 actually bring? Well, we've mapped out a highly complex intersection here: climate volatility, agricultural vulnerability, and severe economic risk. The projections for 2026 paint a picture of a nation that could face deficient monsoons, leading to compromised harvests, soaring inflation, and a sharp contraction in vital consumer markets. For anyone invested in the stability of emerging markets or reliant on Indian exports, the message is remarkably clear. The time to strategize for supply chain diversification, build those inventory buffers, and solidify economic resilience is right now. You simply cannot afford to be caught off guard by a climatic event that telegraphs its macroeconomic consequences years in advance. And this all leads us back to the most critical unknown for strategic planners today. With the economic and agricultural stakes this incredibly high, are Indian markets and global supply chains truly prepared to weather the 2026 storm? Keep that question at the forefront of your mind as you adjust your long-term forecasts and monitor global climate patterns. Thank you for joining me for this explainer.